Hey guys, it's Marianna, and it's time for another Game of Thrones episode recap. So today we're talking about Season 5, Episode 5, Kill the Boy. So we are officially halfway through Season 5, and I am pretty sad about this because it is going by way too fast. I am not ready for this season to be over, and we only have 5 episodes left. As for this particular episode, it also flew by way too fast for me. I really enjoyed it, and I actually really liked that we took a break from King's Landing and Cersei and all of that political stuff. I enjoy watching that stuff, but at the same time, I was glad that we were able to focus on some other storylines. So first of all, Meereen is officially the location of WTF for me because every time Dany does something, I have no words. I'm speechless. The first thing that we see is that Grey Worm is alive. He's wounded, but he is alive, and Missandei is looking after him, but Sir Barristan, of course, is dead, and Daenerys is pretty upset about this. She kind of feels responsible for it. She feels like she not only lost a good advisor that was helping her out, but she also lost a loyal friend. And she decides she's going to round up all of the leaders of the great families of Meereen, including the guy who is on her council. So she wants them brought to her, and she takes them to where her dragons are to essentially scare the shit out of them. What ends up happening is that with Daario's help, she throws one of the guys, one of the leaders of the families, in front of her dragons, and the dragons kind of have a little barbecue in front of everybody, which is terrifying. And at that moment, I'm sitting there thinking, what the hell just happened? Because of course, I get why she did it, and I get what she did, and I get that she doesn't like any of the former slave owners because she doesn't think they're nice people, but at the same time, she just pretty much picked an unlucky guy and sentenced him to death without any kind of trial, and she's like, look what's gonna happen to all of you if you don't obey me. So that was my first WTF moment at Meereen. Later on, we see Grey Worm and Missandei have a little moment together. I don't particularly care about their love story. I know some people really like it, but I just feel like we have so many other things to focus on instead of inventing a love story in this show that is unnecessary. I mean, it's cute and it's romantic and whatever, and it's very tragic because he's unsullied, but at the same time, why does that exist? I don't really care about their relationship. I'm sorry. After that, we see Daenerys kind of desperate for some advice because she knows she's not in a good position, and she asks Missandei to help her out, and Missandei says, you know what, I have seen you listen to your counselors and weigh your options, and you still ignore them, so do your own thing. You know what you're doing, you know what you want. And Daenerys is like, okay, that's what I'm going to do. So she goes to the cell where Hizdar is. I had to look up this guy's name because I had no idea, but his name apparently is Hizdar, the guy who was on her council who got rounded up with the leaders of the families. Anyways, she tells him she messed up, that she's going to open up the fighting pits minus the slavery. It's going to be free people fighting in the fighting pits because she's going to uphold the traditions. And she's also going to marry one of the leaders of the families, aka him, which is my second WTF moment at Meereen. That totally came out of nowhere for me. I did not see that coming. I wonder if she's going to go through with it, and if she does go through with it, how do you go from Khal Drogo to Daario to this guy? I mean, obviously she's doing it for politics, but come on now. What is happening? At the wall, we have Jon Snow trying to seek advice from Maester Aemon because he's about to do something questionable himself, which is make peace with the wildlings. And before he even says what this thing is that he wants to do, Maester Aemon tells him to just go for it because he needs to kill the boy and become a man. He needs to find the strength to do what needs to be done and just stop worrying about what people are going to say because half the people don't like him already. So that ship has sailed. So after that, Jon speaks to Tormund and he says, I am going to set you free. You're going to go beyond the wall, bring your people south of the wall, and I'm going to let them settle on lands. And in return, I want them to be ready to fight with me when the time comes. I don't want them to kneel. I just want them to fight with me. And Tormund at first is resistant. He's like, these people aren't going to listen to that. What are you talking about? But Jon does end up convincing him, saying, hey, you know what? The White Walkers are coming and you guys are going to get hit first. But Tormund wants to make sure this isn't a trap, so he says, okay, I'll do it, but you have to come with me because these people need to hear it from you, and they need to know that these ships that you're borrowing from Stannis, that they're getting on, are not going to be torched in the middle of the sea, and we're not going to be even more screwed than we are right now. So Jon agrees, and when he tries to announce these things to people of the Night's Watch, of course this doesn't go over well, because people of the Night's Watch haven't had the best experience with the wildlings, because the wildlings have burned villages, they have killed people, they have killed their fellow men of the Night's Watch, and nobody's happy about Jon's decision. But Jon is trying to convince them and saying, hey, you know, when all of these wildlings are turned into the White Walkers, it's going to be worse. Basically, he's saying whatever the wildlings are now is better than having them become a part of the Army of the Dead. Later, we see Stannis have a little bit of a chat with Sam, because Stannis has heard that Sam killed a White Walker, and Stannis wants to know how that was accomplished. And Sam tells him everything he knows. He tells him about Dragonglass. He tells him what he has read about Children of the Forest, going to hunt with Dragonglass. And Stannis kind of gets some more respect for this guy. He realizes that Sam is a smart guy and that he can be useful, so he just tells him to keep reading. And shortly after that, Stannis leaves for Winterfell, which I'm keeping my fingers crossed for Stannis, because I hope that not waiting for Jon to return with the ships and the wildlings wasn't a mistake for Stannis, because I do not want to see the Boltons kill more people. Davos was telling him to wait for Jon to return with ships and more people, but Stannis thinks this is the time to go, and please don't screw up. I still haven't completely lost hope that Jon will end up going to Winterfell and maybe grab some men of the Night's Watch as well as the wildlings and maybe save the day at Winterfell. I still have that hope, but right now Stannis is leaving. Well, he has left at this point, and I am slightly concerned about this because I don't like people getting separated in this show. This never works out well. Now, speaking of Winterfell, the first thing that we see is Brienne and Pod kind of observing Winterfell from the distance. Brienne is still set on protecting Sansa, and she's kind of trying to figure out what is the best way to do this in this situation, because she's trying to stay out of sight, but at the same time she wants to stay close enough to her to be able to help her and to see what's going on. So she decides to send a message to Sansa. We don't know what it is, but she is sending some kind of message to Sansa. At the same time, Sansa keeps getting reassured from this old lady that she still has supporters in the north. We saw this old lady back when Sansa arrived at Winterfell, and she said the North remembers, and this time she shows up and she says, if you are ever in trouble, you need to light the candle in the highest window of the broken tower, and you still have friends in the North. Now, we do get to see a few awkward scenes with the Boltons, because scenes with the Boltons are always so uncomfortable. And that's just the reaction that I have to everything that has to do with the Boltons. It's not that I am scared of them too much. I honestly feel like they have peaked as villains. I hope I'm right, because if they haven't, oh my god. But I'm not necessarily scared of them. I'm just annoyed by their presence, and don't like them. But anyways, the first thing that we see is Ramsay and Miranda is Ramsay's mistress, and she is jealous of him getting married to Sansa because apparently he was going to marry her before he became the official heir of Roose Bolton. So now he says, don't you worry, I'll have time for both of you, because he's just such a nice guy. But we can see that Miranda is plotting something on her own, and later on she makes sure that Sansa sees Theon at the kennels, and that doesn't go over very well because obviously she doesn't expect to see him or to see him in the condition that she ends up finding him in, and he's just like, you shouldn't be here. Later on, Theon does tell Ramsay that Sansa saw him, and it is a really tense scene because you think that Ramsay is going to start cutting fingers off or something, because Ramsay is like, you shouldn't keep secrets from me, Reek, and get on your knees and give me your hand. And I'm just sitting there thinking, oh my god, I don't want to see this right now. But in the end, Ramsay's like, I forgive you. And following that, we get the most awkward dinner scene ever, which also had one of my favorite moments of this episode when Roose Bolton's wife says to Sansa, oh, it must be difficult for you to be alone in a strange place. And Sansa is like, no, this isn't a strange place. This is my home. It's the people who are strange, which was just excellent. I was glad she said that. That was awesome. Now, at that dinner, Ramsay decides to bring out Theon and make him apologize to Sansa for murdering her brothers, which, shouldn't he make Roose Bolton apologized as well, because he murdered some people too? Apparently not. But Theon obviously has to apologize, which he didn't actually murder her brothers, but that's a whole different topic of conversation, and Theon obviously wasn't going to get into that. But that's awkward, and then Ramsay decides that Theon should give Sansa away at their wedding, because apparently he's the closest thing that Sansa has to family. So that's great. Finally, things start going downhill for Ramsay a little bit when Roose Bolton and his wife announce that they're expecting a baby and they think that it's a boy. And that means that there is going to be a true-born heir to House Bolton. So that was nice because it kind of put Ramsay back in the position where he has to prove himself, because he has gotten a little cocky lately. And now Roose is like, hey, so I'm going to have this baby who is my actual son. Later on, we get to listen to this wonderful story about how Roose raped Ramsay's mother, and that's how Ramsay came about. So that just tells you how much of a nice guy Roose Bolton is, in case you forgot. But then he segues into Stannis marching on Winterfell with an army, and Roose wants Ramsay to help him fight Stannis, which is obviously an opportunity for Ramsay to prove himself yet again as someone worthy to be the heir of House Bolton, which is not something I'm looking forward to. I do hope that the Boltons go down this season because I'm just tired of seeing them. I feel like we have more interesting things to worry about in this show, but I'm sure we're going to get some more shenanigans before they go down. And if Stannis loses yet again, I hope he doesn't, because I don't want to see the Boltons get ahead. And finally, we see Tyrion and Jorah, and Tyrion is trying to get Jorah to warm up to him a little bit and make things a little bit less awkward, because they're going to be spending quite a bit of time together on this journey. And then we realize, along with Tyrion, that Jorah is taking him through the ruins of Old Valyria, which is apparently a cursed place according to the legends, but Jorah is like, nah, it's gonna be okay. And I'm so glad that we got to see the ruins of Valyria, because it looks like a really interesting place, and it really makes me want to know more of the history of what happened and all of that. It's just a cool place to see, and I hope that they get into it a little bit more at some point. And I knew something was going to go down, because there's no way they were going to get through it without any adventures. And I thought either Tyrion is going to see the dragon or they're going to get into some trouble, but little did I know that it was going to be both, because first Tyrion and Jorah see Drogon just flying in the sky, and it is a beautiful moment. But right after that, they get attacked by the Stone Men, which look like dudes with really advanced grayscale, which apparently is what they are. And Tyrion ends up falling into the water, and we see him being dragged into the depth. And Jorah is trying to fight people off, but the screen starts fading to black as Tyrion is going deeper and deeper into the water. And I thought the episode was over at that point, and I was about to be really frustrated, because you cannot leave me on this cliffhanger for a week, but the episode didn't end. And That was good. So we see that Tyrion somehow got rescued by Jorah, and they are past the ruins of Valyria, it seems, and they're going to continue their journey on foot. But the last thing that we see is that Jorah did get touched by one of the stone men, and he now has grayscale, so he is kind of a ticking time bomb. I have to say, even though I don't particularly care about Jorah that much, I still like him, and I was sad to see that happen to him, because I do think that he is now going to die this season, because someone has to die since we're watching Game of Thrones, and they're probably going to try to fix him somehow, but I have doubts that they're going to succeed, and that makes me sad. Overall, this episode felt like a turning point for the season, because we have all of these character groups making important moves. First of all, we have Stannis heading to Winterfell, which is a big deal. He's finally going there. Then we have Jon going to get more wildlings, and we don't know how that's going to turn out. Then we have Daenerys making some major decisions as well. She's reopening the fighting pits and trying to get some people under control. Second of all, she is terrifying people with her dragons, and she's marrying Hisdar, which is making me question how much of a back burner is conquering Westeros on right now. Then of course Jorah and Tyrion are heading their way, and then we have the Boltons, and it is just all coming together, and I'm very excited to see how everything is going to turn out. But this definitely felt like a turning point in the season. That's it for my review and recap. Thank you guys so much for watching. Let me know what you thought of the episode down in the comments below, and also let me know if I've missed something important. I would love to hear some feedback. Just make sure you use some spoiler warnings if you are going to put some spoilers from the books in your comments. But then again, the show is diverging from the books a lot, so is it even a spoiler anymore? Because we don't even know where this is going. But let me know what you guys think. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, don't forget to give it a thumbs up, and also subscribe to my channel if you haven't already done so. Thank you so much for watching. As always, I hope you're having an amazing day, and I will see you soon in my next video. Bye!